What's up, everyone? Andre here, along with Triss. And Triss, I want to just touch you so badly. Sorry, that sounds terrible, but we're starting off strong here. Point is, you played Tears of the Kingdom, and that makes you a very special person right now. So I gotta find. So we want to find out more about. You're still losing it about this.
Yes, no, it's hilarious.
What a great way to start the stream. So anyways, we've of course had a ton of preview coverage for this game. We had our 15 minutes of gameplay. We've had an in-depth preview already. We've had 20 new details about the game. We also had a breakdown of the menus. We'll probably have even more coming. But for now, you know, throughout all of this, we've had tons of people asking questions about the game. I'm sure we're getting more in the chat as we speak. And my camera's going totally out of focus. And we are going to try and answer as much as we can. Now, a few things off the top here. You were at roughly a 2-hour preview event. Obviously, that means there's a lot about this game we still don't know. We only saw a very small picture in a controlled environment. Nintendo only let us see what they wanted us to see. And even then, there are still a few things that we can't specifically mention. So we're going to answer as much as we can. Keep in mind that it may not be what you want to have answered. Everyone may not be able to answer everything you're curious about or want to know. So just keep that in mind. We'll try to be as informative as possible. So Triss, just real quick off the top, just how are you feeling right now after playing Tears of the Kingdom?
I need this game. Like it's so incredible that we're so close, and the fact that I got to play a bit of it. It's been like over a week since I actually got to. The video just came out yesterday, but like I'm still like riding that high. Like ooh, I got to try it. Like it's so close. I got that taste of it, and now I need more.
That's awesome. Like everything I've seen, everything I took a look at from your preview coverage made me just want to play this game even more. And I had a fun comment here actually before we get into the question specifically. One of the early chats we had while they were just hanging out was from Harley Sonder, who said, "What's really been weird is with every bit of new content we've seen from Tears of the Kingdom so far, it feels like I've seen less and less every time. Every time I see something new. Very ironic." And that's the kind of same sense I've had too. It feels like everything we learn just makes me want to know more. It feels like I don't fully have a great grasp of how everything fits together. But I'm wondering, even with you having actually played it, do you have a better sense now of how it's all kind of coming together?
A sense of it, I think so. Yeah, because it really is like you take Breath of the Wild as a base, and then you just completely expand upon it from there. Not unlike going from like Ocarina of Time to Majora's Mask, for example.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, well, that's exciting. So yeah, I imagine the thing is for like a game like Tears of the Kingdom, you know, a large open world. I imagine largely non-linear driven experience. It's hard to encapsulate what all that could be within just a 2-hour chunk. So
yeah, and it wasn't even a full 2 hours that we got to play. Like the time there was 2 hours. In that 2 hours, I took a picture with the Link statue, for example. Like they showed us what the abilities are before letting us try them ourselves. So yeah.
We have a super chat from Mr. Scoob. Thank you. Didn't say anything. Just sharing the good energy. Real quick chat. We'll try and answer your questions as you're asking them as well. Full disclosure, though, we already have a list ready to go that we'll be answering primarily. And if you really want us to answer your question, most likely the best way for us to see it is with a super chat. So not to promote those necessarily, it's just the easiest for us to keep track of them that way. So
speaking of, Mrs. Scoob did actually add a comment after the super chat.
Okay.
And they ask, is the game harder than Breath of the Wild? And you know what? Given that there's more enemies now, I will say so. I think this game presents a bigger challenge. Yes.
Now, I do remember Breath of the Wild started off really tough as well. Did you begin near the start of the game, and could that be part of why it felt difficult? Or...
I think it wasn't like we didn't start on like the Great Plateau or anything like that. So I don't know how early exactly it was, but it did feel like relatively early into the game. So I would say there was a level of challenge because, you know, my weapons were like earlier swords or sticks. But I mean, that like big boss bokoblin, it packs a punch. That thing's big. So
all right, because it looks like going off the footage, which I think is most of the footage you captured yourself. You had what, 10 hearts or so? So suggesting you were low ways at least into the game, or your file was, yeah.
Yeah, seemingly. There is some like B-roll that Nintendo sent us intermixed with all of that too, just so you guys know. So I know some people have been like, wait a second, didn't someone else have that same clip? And yeah, because B-roll. Nintendo
Yes,
sent us some things that we can use.
we didn't rip anyone off, unlike all the ripped off TikToks I see pop up my own feed. I'm like, that clip looks familiar. Thanks for mentioning
Oh
us,
yeah,
guys.
like me diving to my death.
Yeah. Which actually literally just happened, Tris, on the stream. It's right
Oh,
down
perfect
there.
timing.
That's amazing
Perfect
timing.
timing.
All right, Kobe has a fun question before we get into the meat of everything, or meat arrows, if you will. Kobe asks, did you accidentally see anything you weren't supposed to? Now, before Tris answers, real quick, if we did, obviously we can't say anything about it. But Tris, yes or no, did you see anything you weren't supposed to?
I did not.
Okay, all right. That was amazing time. It wasn't Nody. All right, so right at the top, we got three big questions we want to address, or as much as we can. First of all, can you tell us anything about a Sheikah Tower?
Yeah, a lot of people have been asking about the Sheikah Towers. The most we're allowed to say about them is we got to go up to one up close. We got to see it. We can't say anything about what it does. I know a lot of you guys want to know, but that's not something we're allowed to share.
Okay. Well, thanks. I see the super chat through Tristan. We'll get to that soon. Thank you. Next up, another big question is about performance. Specifically, how well does this game run? Now, again, before we get into it, Tris, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think you're an expert when it comes to frame rate analysis. But based on your, your more casual take on it, how did it feel playing it? Because I know some people have expressed some concern based on some of the clips that may be out there now. So how did it run, though, in your experience?
In my experience, it ran very similar to just actually playing Breath of the Wild, but it felt a bit smoother. Like the performance is probably a little bit better than Breath of the Wild's, and I would assume that is because this game is made for the Switch rather than made for the Wii U and Switch. So comparatively, very similar to Breath of the Wild in terms of performance, but a little bit better on the average, I'd say.
They had 6 years to optimize that. Although, I imagine there's going to be some crazy contraptions people are building here, which, could possibly weigh on it, but I don't know whether or not, how much of a performance hit that may affect. But right. I'm just already picturing the crazy stuff people are going to make. I'm like, oh man, can the Switch handle that? Is the Switch ready for it? But finally, another popular question, Therese, I want to just get out of the way is, can you tell us if dungeons are back? Everyone wants to know, are dungeons back, Therese? Do you know?
That was the most common question we got, by the way. Like, are dungeons back? I have no idea about anything even related to that, unfortunately.
All right.
So, anytime dungeons come up, I'm just going to reiterate, I have no idea. Sorry.
It is hilarious. I mean, I kind of love just like, even after this 2-hour preview session, after, years of some trailers and gameplay, we still know almost nothing about this game. It feels like, which is amazing. All right, we had a super chat from Tristan Peterson. Thank you so much, Tristan. It's their first super chat. And they ask, can you toggle Link's hairstyle? Never seen him with his hair down and Champion's tunic on. So do you know anything at all about that, Tris?
Yeah, so kind of like in Breath of the Wild, how you could choose the armor, like you could choose what like torso you're wearing, like the Champion's tunic, you could choose the pants, like the Hylian pants, Soldier's Greaves, things like that. But then you could also choose like if you're wearing like a helmet or like something that goes on Link's head, that would kind of mess around with his hairstyle. The same thing is here. So the sort of cape that you can get in Breath of the Wild that we've seen him wearing in Tears of the Kingdom, that's how you get his normal like ponytail look. But if you take that off, it's his hair down, like you see with the like those like ancient robes.
Okay, nice. Do you have a preference?
I do prefer like the ponytail, like the cleaner Breath of the Wild look to it. I also just like how the cape looks. So
I mean, it's hard to go wrong with a cape, right? Like in the Mario movie, in their
yeah, there you go.
Kaylin has a question that I also had written down, but they're asking HD Rumble. Did you notice any, Tress? Because Breath of the Wild infamously didn't take full advantage of HD Rumble.
I don't remember experiencing any other than the obvious vibration of explosions because I kept using the bomb arrows or the bomb flower.
So did you, I mean, do you recall at all whether there was like variance in that Rumble, or did it feel very similar to Breath of the Wild?
It felt pretty similar to Breath of the Wild from what I remember. I would love to be wrong and find out there actually is HD Rumble, but I don't remember anything like that like jumping out to me. Okay. I know I was looking.
So that, just to clarify then, chat, that doesn't mean HD Rumble's not there. It just means it didn't probably stand out too much based on our experience. So
yeah,
and I get that. Like, we've felt so much of it over the years that it's hard to even recognize it now. It's more like of a background type thing.
Yep.
And it's really the rare exception when it really stands out. We had a super chat from, or super, I should call them super questions, super chat question from Dumb and Darby. Don't be so hard on yourself, Dumb and Darby. Who asks, how's the weapon variety excluding fused weapons? So that's a great question. How much did you see, Triss, and did you see much beyond what was in Breath of the Wild? Again, excluding what you were able to fuse together.
Excluding the fusions, a lot of the weapons that I got to experience were either existing ones from Breath of the Wild or like newer versions, like the sturdy stick or like the wooden stick looks a bit different. I think the variety is at minimum going to be equal to Breath of the Wild. There's so much more resources in this game that I would find it hard to believe there isn't just outright more. So I would say the weapon variety is similar, but a bit better. There's still the three types of like the normal like sword that you can have with the shield, the two-handed sword, and then like the spear-like weapons. There's still those three categories.
Did anything stand out to you from weapon-wise playing it?
I mean, I didn't realize until like 20 minutes in part of why I was doing so little damage was because I had the stick equipped and fused with, not a normal sword, so probably not.
Nice.
I do want to address too, because I see a lot of people asking in chat too about petting dogs. I should have added that in here as one to address. Did not get to go anywhere near a stable or encounter any dogs, so I don't have an answer for that yet, unfortunately.
That's too bad. I see a lot of people curious about that. So,
yep.
There was another good question in the chat I wanted to get to, but I lost it. So that's okay. We're gonna move on. Okay. We had a question from Anish who asks, so could you potentially fuse a bomb arrow to a spear and throw the spear? Bomb spears? Intense.
Yeah, in my footage, I fused a bomb flower to a spear, and like, with all like the Nintendo reps around, I was like, okay, we have to wrap up. I want to go out with a bang, and I like just stabbed the spear at the bokoblins and made everything explode. Completely didn't cross my mind that I could have just thrown the spear. Yes, you can throw a weapon that has been fused. So I do wonder if that'll do more damage than simply a bomb arrow, but that would be fun.
All right. The Gamebox asks, did you encounter any spider-like enemies during your time playing?
I did not. I know there's a couple people that were looking at our footage and they're saying there's some sort of like spider-like thing they see. It's a bokoblin with a backpack, which is like a bone backpack, and it's getting launched in the air by an explosion. That's the spider-like thing people see in the footage. But I have not encountered anything spider-like, so I know like arachnophobes are worried there might be something. Closest I can think of is from the last trailer, that giant ice crab-looking thing. I've not encountered any, but I know Zelda games, especially Twilight Princess, are like arachnophobes' nightmares. Yep. So I wouldn't be surprised if there were, but I have not encountered any.
Emilio asks in the super chat, thank you. What if the mysterious lady is Princess Hilda?
Princess Hilda from
Link Between Worlds, right?
Yeah, Link Between Worlds. That would be interesting. I don't think I think she had black hair though, so I don't think that's the case.
Yeah, I'd be surprised.
It would be cool. It would be cool though.
All right, Delta had a super chat, but then deleted it. Delta, if you follow up, we'll try to answer it. So, we have a question here from Guitar Ninjar who asks, "What was weapon durability like? Literally my only concern."
And similarly asked by Adam Bases, if you were not a fan of the breakable weapons in Breath of the Wild, is it a lesser concern here? And I think that's kind of important to address in the same breath here, because I think the weapon durability was like one of the biggest criticisms of Breath of the Wild, and I think because it is still here, the weapons can still break. We saw that with Alnuba's gameplay. I got to experience a little bit of that. But I actually think with the fusion system, it does mitigate a lot of the problems with that. Because if you find something you want to keep using, but it's getting low on durability, you can fuse it with something, and that new fusion essentially has its own durability. If you unfuse it or get rid of the fusion, it goes back to its original durability, though.
So is a fusion like a new level durability? Rather, it doesn't account for any weakness or damage it may have already taken?
Yeah, to my understanding, when you fuse a weapon, it essentially treats it like a brand new weapon.
Okay, got it. Interesting. But if you separate it, then it returns back to what it was before. Okay. Isaac asks, can you pick up objects like mushrooms and apples with Ultra Hand?
I am pretty sure you can. I don't think I specifically picked them up myself, but I'm pretty sure when activating Ultra Hand, I saw the option to pick them up.
Perfect. And that actually is a quick reminder for chat. Just, be aware we're going off the top of our head with these answers. We may not get everything right, so don't take everything we say as gospel. We're just trying to answer it to the best effect that we can. So, Zadie asks, you said you can put together with Ultra Hand, but all the footage from everyone I've seen so far only shows vehicles, parts, and logs. Can you attach me to a vehicle, for example, or some stuff reserved for weapon fusion?
So that's kind of similar with being able to attach objects. I'm pretty sure you're able to. Like, I'm pretty sure I saw the option. I just did not get to try it out myself. So they list an example like of taking a log with a barrel at the tip and a couple of meat to the barrel, and then launching that into the Bokoblin camp and like making it like a bunch of bait for all of them. I think you could probably do something like that.
Okay, good. Zero Link asks, but can you still pause mid-fight to eat a big meal? That is one change I would have liked.
Yeah, you can still access the materials menu at any point and just eat a bunch of food. I did not do it myself, but I know someone else at the event I was in did it because I heard someone commenting on it. So
Yeah.
I know that is still possible to do.
That would have been one thing I might have liked to see change, just because it was an easy workaround in those boss fights where you can just keep like plowing food down your throat mid battle.
Yeah, just have 100 apples. Easy.
Exactly. Yeah, no big deal. Tanner Harris with the super chat. Thank you, Tanner, who says not related to gameplay, but do you think Link's Hateno house will still be the same, or will it be crushed by fallen sky debris?
You know, having it crushed would be a great way to make Link have to do that whole quest again to get a new house.
That's
like,
true.
Like, because otherwise, you know, if you bought it in Breath of the Wild, but you play Tears of the Kingdom, it's like, well, how did Link lose his house in this time?
That's like the modern version of Samus losing all her gear every game.
Yeah, there
right?
you go.
Yeah. Delta asks with a super chat, thank you, Delta, is the Hylian hood a toggle between up and down?
No, that it doesn't have a toggle to put it up or down, unfortunately. It is just wear it or don't wear it.
Okay. Holly Baker asks, can you fuse bows?
No, you can only fuse items to the arrows themselves. I don't think there's a way to fuse bows. Like, when you try to fuse to weapons, it only gives you the option for your currently equipped shield or currently equipped, like, sword weapon. It doesn't bring up anything for the bows.
So I couldn't fuse a bow to an arrow and launch bow arrows.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so.
That actually literally caused you a choke up, so... All right, Chevy Chick with a super chat, thank you, asks, hello, any news on the Hylian shield? Is it back?
Ooh, I don't know. I haven't seen it. It wasn't, I mean, we only got to work with, like, old wooden shields and, like, the Traveler shields. So, no idea on that, although I would be shocked if it isn't somewhere in the game.
Yeah. I just want to remind people that we saw roughly 2 hours of the game, which is really nothing for a game of this scale. You know, like what the Great Plateau would take an hour by itself in the original game, I think, probably. Yep. So if not longer.
And this wasn't even like the first 2 hours of the game. This was 2 hours of Nintendo puts us in a random place and says, "Now do this," and they watch us scramble to try to get that done.
Exactly. Techno Thorn asks, did we see the Yiga clan?
I did not see Yiga Clan anywhere, though the glider that we were using was themed to Master Koga. So I imagine there's going to be...
Yeah.
I imagine they're still present in some way.
I'm sure. I feel like that's a guarantee. Theani asks, does it still have different type of arrows like the special types of arrows?
So in the equipment menu, there is like, in the same thing as bows and arrows, you have the different bows you can choose, and there is a normal arrow. I imagine that's just to keep track of how many arrows you have, but I know in Breath of the Wild, that was where you would also see like fire, ice, thunder, ancient arrows. I imagine there might still be a way to get them, but from everything we've gotten to experience, everything we've seen, we've only seen normal arrows, and you have to fuse materials to make the other kinds.
Okay. Good to know. Silver Streak asks, if you need a flying contraption to go up slightly higher, can you use Ultra Hand to pick it up, deactivate Ultra Hand, go on the flying contraption, use recall to bring it up and activate the contraption?
Yes, you can.
What?
Because in my gameplay where I'm like flying like the bird thing, the second time I used it, there was this like green rock I needed to pick up and take somewhere. So I put it on the back of that. But the problem was this bird thing was like on the ground. I needed to get it to fly. So what I did, was I recalled it back up to the air while standing on it, and then I turned it on. without deactivating recall, and it started to move. It did immediately hit the ground again because I didn't have enough space, so I needed to use a rocket. But you can use them out of recall. Yes.
That's freaking cool. Wow. All right, I'm impressed getting the answer to that. A super chat from Super Nintendo, I like the name, thank you, asks, diving to the surface, can you use the glider at the last second?
I think you can to the same, well, to the surface specifically from the Sky Island. I don't know because I didn't get to like dive all the way down, but I'm pretty sure as long as you're not doing the accelerated fall, you can still pull out the glider at any point. I know that was the thing in Breath of the Wild where if you like jump off a cliff or something, you could pull out the glider at like the last second and not take any fall damage.
It was like,
and I know
the
you can still do that in this
Mario.
game. Yeah, like I know you can still do that in this game, so
But you
I wouldn't
can't-
be surprised.
But to clarify, you can't pull out the glider when you're doing the accelerated skydive?
You'd have to stop diving
Got
to
it,
do
okay.
that. So.
Oh, some more super chats. Link's
Ooh.
Upton, thank you so much, asks, with Link being able to aim whilst diving, would this also mean he could do it backwards too? As in to aim into the sky while falling backwards?
I'm pretty sure, yes, you can. I did not get to like aim it all the way back, but with motion controls and all, I'm pretty sure you can. The way we learned about being able to do that from like the old Nintendo patents, like at this point, like over a year ago, that we saw, seemed to imply you can also like aim back upwards. So I'm pretty sure you can aim in any direction when doing it that way. Yeah.
Awesome. There's a super chat here. I don't know if you see it, Tressa. I don't know if it's a blue one. I don't know if we can answer that.
I just have no idea.
Okay, then I'll just read it then. Since it wasn't part of anything that we, I guess, can't not discuss. Javin says there's a Thunder Gleeok in the Colosseum. I don't know.
That would be so much better than the Lionel that was there in Breath of the Wild. I would love that. I have no idea where I was near the Colosseum, but I didn't get to look in it. So
yeah, I don't know if someone did or what. So Anton with a $20 super chat. Thank you so much, Anton. Asks, how's it going, Andre and Triss? Going great. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, doing well.
I don't know if this has been asked yet. How many Sky Islands do you anticipate there will be? Do you think, summed up, they will be comparable in size to a Breath of the Wild region?
That is a great question because there's so many like tiny islands that you can just kind of drop down on, and there's maybe like a few materials there, but it's no different than maybe like climbing up a small hill in Breath of the Wild. So I imagine, yeah, there might be enough to at least equal the size of one of the regions in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, I guess real quick to build on that, how did the presence of the Sky Islands feel actually playing the game? I've had a difficult time understanding like how much of a role they actually do play. Like, are you obviously even with 2 hours you don't fully know, but like how did it feel, traversing and exploring them during your big gameplay session?
I really liked exploring them, and the fact that because of the smaller size to them, there was a puzzle in and of itself to figure out how to go from each one to the next.
That's cool.
And I really liked that fact because it wasn't just, okay, well, from Hyrule Field, I need to go all the way over there. Oh, I'll just get on my horse or something. This is, okay, well, the next island is like 50 feet above me that way. How do I get there?
So can you just not use Ascent for all of them? Or
no, only if they are directly above you. Ascend, you can't just ascend from the surface all the way up. There needs to be an actual surface above you to use Ascend.
Right, but wouldn't there... So, I'm a little confused on this, Ben. Why can't you just go below any Sky Island and just ascend right up to it?
So, when you use Ascend, the camera kind of, like, flips up, and you can see... Are
they too
like,
far
right
away?
Above Link?
Or...
Yeah, there's, like, a set distance.
Okay.
Where, above Link, you'll see this kind of, like, green, like, circle. The green circle implies, yes, you can use Ascend to go up whatever this is, and it displays on, like, the ceiling of whatever it is. Or, like, it displays,
it's
like,
actually
a ceiling
happening
above
on
you.
stream in that little gameplay window we have right now. It's perfect.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. So, if it's red, you can't do it. There's something obscuring the way. If there isn't one above you, you just can't do it.
Okay, interesting.
So, it is situational.
We have a super chat from Attack the Backlog. Thank you, Attack the Backlog, who says, "Awesome stream, guys. Awesome stream, guys. Abandoned incredible preview footage." I think that may have been a auto correction mistake. Awesome, incredible preview footage from you guys. Just over 2 weeks away. Let's go. Thank you so much, Attack the Backlog. I was on their podcast a few days ago. Go check it out on their YouTube channel. Just click their name. It was a super fun time I had. So definitely check it out. We talked about Tears of the Kingdom and Mario movie and all kinds of stuff. So. Next up, we have a super chat from Pixel Chris, one of our a name we see frequently. I followed him on Twitter. Hey, Pixel Chris, they didn't say anything, I don't think. So, just sharing the good vibes, I guess. Thank you, Pixel. Rafe Althero, another common
regular
name. Yes. Hey, hey, Rafe, how's it going? They ask, "Hi guys, do you think the Sky Islands are the new shrines/temples? Would love to see more dungeons like classic Zelda games. Cheers."
Oh, I'm still holding out hope that there might be dungeons like classic Zelda. We still don't know the answer to that, unfortunately. As for specifically the Sky Islands, I don't think they replace that concept. I think they add to the amount of like puzzles in simply navigating the world.
I was gonna mention real quick, when you're talking about navigating from one Sky Island to the other, that sounds appealing to me because one of my minor complaints with Breath of the Wild is that it didn't all too often feel that puzzling and how to get somewhere. It's like, oh, I climbed to it. That was the answer to everything. I can climb to it. So it's nice that there may be a little bit more to it this time, I assume, with like building things, for instance. So that excites me to hear having to figure out how to get from one skyline to the other.
Yeah.
The Vidiots with a super chat, another common person we see here. Sorry, not common, a special person around here. Thank you, the Vidiot says, "Hey there, any ideas if the clothes are upgradable again? Great Fairy? Thanks, keep up the great work."
I have I imagine they would be. I don't know. Like, I didn't get to experience any of that. I imagine they would be, given how many systems from Breath of the Wild feel like they are here and expanded upon. That's something I feel like will be here, but I don't know for certain.
All right. We had a chat from Nazigi, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, as I'm known to do, who says, "Hope you guys are doing great. Did Triss try shield surfing with a fused item?"
I always forget about shield surfing.
I do too, I know.
I did not get to try this. I for some reason, I always struggle to start shield surfing.
It legit
I did not get to try it.
It legit took me dozens of hours to even remember how to do it in Breath of the Wild. So I have it down now, though, so I can't wait to try it out.
I did not get to try it with the fused item on it. I imagine it probably still works. Like, you could still at least do the shield surfing animation, although I imagine if there's something on the end of the shield, it'll probably react differently. I don't know to what degree, but...
Mysterious Calm asked something I'm guessing we didn't test, but they ask, what happens if you cook bomb flowers?
Ooh. Great question. Did not get to test that. I didn't spend too long with the cooking.
Okay.
I don't think it would explode. It might result in like the mistake, essentially, or like something that you're... some ungodly food that you shouldn't eat, but...
Yeah,
I mean,
that's gonna do.
Considering you can cook monster parts in Breath of the Wild, I wouldn't be surprised if it actually did result in something.
I'm afraid of the explosive results that could happen from eating a bomb flower. So poor Link doesn't deserve that. Luz, I believe, asks, "Is there a limit on how many things can be connected with Ultra Hand?"
I don't think so. Not from what I experienced. I think the most amount of things I put together was about like 6 or 7, but I didn't get any sense of a maximum there. It might depend on something in Link's inventory. It might depend on like the little vials he has. I don't know if there's a limit that was displayed to us, but yeah.
Okay. Pixel Crust back with another super chat. Thank you, Pixel Crust, who says, "The last one was just supporting, with the last one, I was just supporting you guys." So thank you so much, Pixel Crust. But they continue. But I had to ask a question. I want to hear the overall thoughts on the control schemes. So yeah, how did it feel, Triss? Because I think, had you been replaying Breath of the Wild recently? Or
yeah, I played a bit of it again recently.
So how did it feel to go back? Is it similar to Breath of the Wild? And how did it feel overall?
So I remember touching upon this a little bit in the preview discussion specifically, because I think Joey had asked me. But as someone who went back to play Breath of the Wild a bit and got re-familiar with the controls again, it felt very easy to jump into Tears of the Kingdom and know what I was doing, because the controls are very similar, and every new addition feels natural. Like I didn't see a change and go, oh, that's gonna take some getting used to. Like every change that there was, I'm like, ah, yes, that feels better. Like, for example, in Breath of the Wild, to get the Sheikah runes, you had to use up on the D-pad to change which rune you're using, then the L button to actually activate or use the rune. But now, in Tears of the Kingdom, the up button on the D-pad is now for materials. So people have been wondering, oh, how do you change what hand ability you're using? Because you see you can use it with the L button. You hold down the L button and you get a nice little radial menu to choose with the right stick. It's much cleaner. It just makes so much more sense.
Good, that's good to hear. And I noticed too, watching the preview footage right now, like it looks like they expanded the quick select menu. Like it used to be like a
Yep.
really narrow window for some reason. So is that nicer to use as well?
Yeah, it's definitely nicer to work with. I would say the controls themselves are largely the same, so you might still be like claw gripping a little bit to do sprinting and jumping at the same
Yeah,
time,
that's weird. Yeah.
which is weird. But I do think there's a general quality of life improvement to the gameplay experience, I would say.
Okay, great. Dumb and Darby asked again in another super chat. Thank you, Dumb and Darby. How smart are the enemies compared to Breath of the Wild?
I would say the enemies are pretty similar to how they are in Breath of the Wild in terms of how smart they are. I mean, I feel I was a little too close to that moblin to use the meat arrow successfully, but it worked out. So, all right. It might depend on the enemy themselves, because I know in Breath of the Wild, some of like the higher level enemies felt a bit smarter, and I'm sure that'll be the case here too. But I imagine they're not dumber. They're definitely not dumber, but I imagine they are at least as smart or lack thereof, depending on the enemy, as they were in Breath of the Wild.
All right. Yeah, I was curious to see how they might react to some of the crazy stuff people throw their way, literally. So, Brandon Hogue has a super chat question that I'm not sure if we can answer or not, but they ask, not sure if this got asked, but are there shrines?
Unfortunately, not allowed to say if there are or are not.
Okay.
So.
The Vidiets with another super chat. Thank you, Vidiets asks, hey, who are you calling common? I'm sorry, Vidiets. I apologize. I'm sorry. Just kidding. Anyway, last question from me, though. Do you know if we can still ride a bear or deer? How's a horse riding feel if you had a chance to try it out?
I did not get a chance. I didn't even see where there were horses nearby. So I did not get a chance
They're
to
extinct.
experience. Did not get a chance to ride a horse. I know from Al Numa's gameplay at this point almost a month ago. Oh gosh, time flies.
Yeah, it does.
I know that it looks pretty similar to how it did in Breath of the Wild, so I can't imagine that aspect has changed that much. Though I didn't get to experience it myself, so I can't say for sure.
Okay. We got another super chat for the first time from Stuart Griswold. Thank you so much,
Hey,
Stuart.
friend
Who
of mine.
asks, oh, awesome, great. They say in your common catchphrase, "Ahoy, Triss!" Your gameplay showed Link in both his tattered toga and his armored champion's tunic. How are clothes and armor procured?
So unfortunately, we didn't get to find any new armor. I would have loved to find new armor, but we didn't get to. Basically, just opening up the armor menu, we had some different equipment already there. So we had like the normal champion outfit. We had like the new like tattered robes. We had like the soldier's uniform of like the armor set, and then we had like the Hylian tunic. And those were the only ones that we had access to. We didn't find any new ones, unfortunately.
Yeah, I guess that's another mystery for another day. MZap, with a super chat question, thank you, asks, if you fuse a rocket to your shield, is the rocket activated automatically when you raise your shield, or do you press another button to fly upwards?
It's activated automatically, though I don't know if it was from holding the shield out for a certain period of time, or if it was just as soon as I put the shield out, it activated. Okay. But holding the shield out, you just rise up. There is an extra button that needs to be pressed for it.
All right, good to know. Delta with a super chat question, thank you, asks, follow-up, is the hood up for some armors, is the hood up for some armor and down for others to your knowledge? It's up for the Hylian tunic in the recent ad, down for the champions.
That's interesting. I'm not sure if there's a way to toggle it, though I didn't even notice that there's times where it's raised and times where it isn't. There must be a way to change that, or as strange as it sounds, another version of it that has a hood up version or a hood down version.
Liam has a super chat question asking, is the Hylian compendium back?
The compendium. I don't know if the compendium is back. I know when opening the map, you can see from the tabs up top, one of them is album. So since that seemingly means like pictures and whatnot are back, the compendium probably is, but it wasn't something that was available to us in the demo, so no idea there.
Arjun is testing us by asking, do we only answer super chats with a non-super chat asked question? So I'll let the answer itself. But we are looking, the super chats just stand out to us and are easier to track, so we get those the highest priority. But we've been answering non-super chats too.
Speaking of, I do see from Colin in chat, can the paraglider be changed without amiibo? And I do want to note, we were using, we just had this in the game, like a Master Koga themed glider. And we didn't set that ourselves, but we know that's not the default glider. We've seen the default glider in various footage, so I imagine there's going to be a bunch of different customization options for it that aren't tied to Amiibo as well.
Okay, good to know. Aaron asks, have you noticed any quality of life improvements? We already touched on some of the menu stuff, but anything else, Triss, that stood out to you? You're like, oh, this is different from Breath of the Wild.
I think the menu ones really are the big ones because they're the ones that affected the most. Like even like cooking, like since that's still mostly done out of the menu of you get your ingredients together and then you put it on the cooking pot. Even that is already much better. So most of the quality of life improvements I think are in the menus. I don't think there's any like real quality of life improvements with like the controls themselves though.
Okay, so it all felt pretty similar then to Breath of the
Yeah.
Wild. Okay. Arjun asks a follow-up question. Okay, now that I have your attention, Arjun knows how to hack us apparently. Do you start with all functions like Ultra Hand and Fusion present, or do you need to earn/collect them? And are there heart pieces?
Unfortunately, like again, the way our demo session with Nintendo started was they booted up a specific point in the save file for us, so we didn't get to. Yeah, we don't know. We didn't get to actually play the start of the game or anything like that.
Yeah, sorry, Arjun. We just don't know at this point. My guess would be that you probably acquire them similar to Breath of the Wild. That's purely my own speculation based on literally nothing. Liquid Fusion asks, any evidence of diving or fishing?
Oh, like underwater stuff. Nothing that we've seen. The closest to diving is if you do the aerial dive into water and you get like the nice like splash effect as Link rises back up. But there was not from what we experienced, there was nothing like new in terms of the swimming mechanics.
Okay, so that also felt just like Breath of the Wild. Okay.
Yeah.
Chris Kang with their first super chat. Sorry, Chris Karg. Thank you, Chris. Asks, were there side quests during your 2-hour session?
Did not get to encounter even any NPCs, so didn't get to come across any side quests, unfortunately.
Can you, does the Korok thing count? Was there a Korok?
It didn't. So we did encounter a Korok. We don't have footage of it, but we did encounter like the Korok that needs to find his friend. It wasn't a side quest though, where like you get like, the whole like thing appear, like the little UI indicator for a side quest. It was basically just a more drawn out Korok puzzle of bringing the Korok to the other one, and then you get a couple Korok seeds for however many Koroks are involved.
Speaking of Korok, Shay has a question. When finding Koroks, do you have to sit through the animation of the Korok popping up, the text descriptions of the seed, and the Korok saying goodbye?
So it's tough because what we encountered, the only Korok that we actually got to see was the first one found. So it played the initial, like, what? You're not Hestu. Oh, well, go give this to him. So I didn't get to find any other Koroks beyond the one, so I don't know how drawn out that may be. Though I will say, when bringing the Korok to his friend, that was actually very quick. Like, as soon as he got there, he was like, oh, yeah, thanks. Here's your reward, and immediately gave me it, and then...
So that felt quicker than Breath of the Wild, you think?
That did feel quicker, despite being a more drawn-out quest.
That's going to be useful with there being over 5,000 of them in this game. I don't know how many there are. I'm just making that up. Don't believe me. Shiny Abed with a question asks, did the attack system change, or is it the same? Because in the gameplay preview, it seems more snappy. It's not clear. So, did it feel any different to you?
The combat felt pretty similar from what I gathered. I mean, you have a bit more options now thanks to Fusion, and if you can use your abilities in battle, like if you want to use Recall against like an enemy projectile. So I think you have a bit more options, but I don't know if the battle itself plays out much differently.
Okay. JW95 with a super chat asks, thank you, JW. Was the tower on the starting island completely off limits, or did you get into/near it? And how does the Zonai dispenser work? Amount of Zonai cores?
So for the tower, like we said at the start of the stream, which we said at the start of the stream so we can reiterate, the only thing Embargo lets us say about the Sheikah towers are that we got to see one up close. We're not allowed to say like anything else about them, unfortunately. As for the dispenser, it's not equal to the amount of the Zonai charges you put in, but basically you hold the Zonai charges like almost like you were cooking. You hold up to 5, you deposit them into the dispenser, and it spits out a bunch. Like, I think in the footage we have, there's like 5 Zonai charges that get put in, and then it spits out like at least 10 Zonai devices. So I don't know the exact correlation of like how many charges for how many come out of it.
Coroklation. I don't know why I said that. It had nothing to do with it. Astromov asks, is there a limit on Ultra Hand? For example, could we theoretically build a large rocket to hit the game ceiling?
I guess theoretically, but the rockets are like limited use. Like the rocket essentially gives you the propulsion you need and then it disappears. So you would have to very quickly keep adding rockets. And you would probably need to start from very high up too. So not this is something I experienced, but this is my guess based on the question.
Now I'm picturing all kinds of like crazy math involving having to account for the added weight of each rocket and it affecting the trajectory. I doubt it goes that in depth, but this is turning into what Cobol Space Adventure, whatever that game is. All right, Mr. Ballery asks, "Were you able to talk to Beetle? And if so, did you say anything new?" This is for all the Beatles loving. This is for all the Beetle loving Chads out there.
Unfortunately, we did not find Beetle. We didn't get to go near a stable at all, so we did not get to encounter the man. Not at all.
The man, I love it. 123 asks, "Are there new abilities too powerful to the point? Oh, sorry, are these new abilities too powerful to the point that the game is too easy?"
I think the game compensates the powers very well, actually. Like, for example, you'll find enemies that have fused weapons. So they can do a lot of things you can do. So I don't think you having these new abilities makes the game inherently easier. I think it's actually very well balanced around it. If you got these abilities and it was just Breath of the Wild all over again, the only difference being the new abilities, yeah, that would probably feel a little overpowered. Yeah. But the game definitely balances around it and compensates well. I didn't encounter a moment fighting enemies where I felt too powerful compared to them. Like, for example, when gliding around a sky island at one point, one of the constructs started firing rocket-fused arrows at me. So they were, like, really fast arrows that I was not able to really react well to.
Man, I believe it. That sounds intense, so... we had a good question here. Oh, actually, we have a few good questions. Orange Knight asks, do any of Link's new abilities, or any abilities, have a cooldown period?
I don't think so. I don't think they do in the same way the Sheikah runes did, where like, oh, you had to wait a bit before using the bomb again. Recall might have a little bit, if I remember correctly, but I know like Ultra Hand doesn't, because that's the whole point of like building things together. And we even saw in Aonuma's footage, he fused something to his shield and sword actually pretty quickly. They were like right next to each other, so I don't think there's any level of a cooldown like that though.
Okay. Let's see. Renzo asks, did you notice any changes to the game's weather system or environmental effects?
I don't even think we got to experience rain. I wanted to experience rain to figure out if climbing is better, but I think it was literally like the sunny weather the whole time.
You know, I wonder if that's a debug thing. Could you imagine if it were like just raining through the entire preview period?
It was actually raining outside when we did it.
Oh, in real life, yeah.
And in real life, it was raining. I was kind of hoping it would be raining in Tears of the Kingdom, but it didn't.
Speaking of rain, one thing that may not be raining this time, Triss, are bombs. Because as Fitz Flights asks, do you miss Sheikah bombs?
I don't actually. I don't, because while I think the Sheikah rune bombs were actually pretty cool, like the way they were different from normal bombs. There's something charming about having the bomb flowers and like something closer to traditional Zelda bombs back in your inventory with the limited amount. That kind of makes it feel closer to the Zelda experience that I like. They're now a limited resource again, and they are dangerously explosive. They are not this burst of Sheikah energy.
Chris Karg asks with a super chat. Thank you, Chris. Did you try fusing a leaf to an arrow? I must know.
Oh, like Aonuma did. I don't think we had a Korok frond. I think that's what the leaf was called. I don't think we had one in our inventory, so I didn't get to, unfortunately.
Taco Balls asks, when a fused item breaks, does the whole thing break, or do you get some parts back?
I'm pretty sure when an item breaks, you get it. I'm pretty sure when it breaks, it breaks. I don't think you get the materials from it.
Okay, I think that probably makes sense. So, HPR Shredder, another Beetle Chad, says, will this game see a return of the old woman? Oh, are we talking the one in Kakariko? Yeah.
Oh, Impa? Is
that
no idea.
I don't know.
I think so. We didn't get to experience. We didn't even get to find like any NPCs or characters, unfortunately.
Cosmic Orange asks, hi guys, the gameplay that Nintendo provided it looks to have inconsistent frame rates, but your gameplay looks smoother and consistent. How is a frame rate during your gameplay experience? We touched on this a little bit earlier, but I'm sure, Trust, you looked at all the B-roll, and did you notice did you notice that the performance looked not as smooth as compared to your?
I remember even we were talking with like some of the other staff that the B-roll Nintendo sent over felt something about it felt different from what I captured. So we were thinking it might have been from an early like from a slightly earlier build or like from a different session. I remember some people were I just reading around the internet yesterday. I think some people were saying European outlets like their footage also looked a bit off. I don't know if they were using the B-roll or not. But it makes me wonder if it could also just be the way Nintendo like compressed or sent over the footage. Because I don't really remember encountering anything out of the ordinary from Breath of the Wild, if not a little bit better than Breath of the Wild. So
we captured more gameplay than we were able to show everyone. And watching that back, Tris, you didn't notice like any frame rate drops as severe
not really.
as ones in the B-roll?
No.
Okay.
No, nothing as bad as like some moments people have been pointing out in the B-roll. Nothing as bad as Korok Forest in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, God, that was pretty terrible at points. So. Old Codger asks, sorry if you already answered this, they just joined, but I was under the impression from the trailers that the Stonebird glider hovered on its own.
So it has the ability to hover, but it is a Zonai device that you can work with, you can build, and as long as you have something to power it or like propel it, you're able to do so. So I know that trailer, like the first time we saw it in a trailer, it was kind of moving on its own. My guess was that something propelled it, like a rocket sent it in a direction, and then the rocket went away when it was done, and it just kind of kept gliding on its own, kept moving.
Got it. Okay. B. Travin asks for the super chat. Thank you, B. Travin. Do you think progression will be the same in this game? For example, explore, do shrines, unlock sections of the map.
Given that the map, from what we saw, it was only the area we were in that was actually like unlocked. So it does seem like you'll have to unlock sections of the map. So I think the general progression is probably going to be the same. Obviously, I don't have an answer to that. That's just my assumption.
Right, yeah. Keep in mind, we only saw, again, 2 hours of the game or so, which is just a drop in the bucket for a game like this. And speaking of which, there are some questions, chat, that we can't answer, or so we won't bring them up at all. So if it looks like we're ignoring something, there's probably a reason for it. Mama asks, what happens when you jump attack with a rocket attached to shield? I'm guessing you didn't test this.
I did not get to test that, although that sounds like it'd be really funny.
We got a super chat from Jose, their first ever super chat. I don't see a message attached to it, but thank you, Jose, regardless. We have a question here on Twitter from Tears of Graham's Kingdom asking, is there a Hero's Path mode? Do you know?
So I compared the menus for Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, and the Hero's Path button at the bottom isn't there in Tears of the Kingdom. It might be something that gets added later, or is something unlocked
confirmed?
Maybe. I don't know, but it doesn't seem, from what we played, there wasn't a Hero's Path mode.
Okay. Alejandro asks, does parrying work the same way, if you know?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure parrying works the same way. I think if you do the silly thing that we saw in the trailer of fusing a shield to a sword, the parrying is probably easier. But yeah, parrying is the same way. It works the same way otherwise.
Forsmoken asks, if you put the rocket on your shield, can you just fly around with it like a jetpack?
Not for long. You can essentially use it to launch yourself into the air. Again, the rockets are a limited resource where they don't last very long. They essentially give you the momentum you need in that moment, and then they disappear. So they get used up, basically.
And do they only travel in the direction that you attach them in? So like straight up, for instance, they can't change. You can't change its trajectory.
Yeah, you can't change the trajectory of it. So it basically just launches in whatever direction it's aiming. So when you attach it to a shield and you shield and it goes up, it sends you up into the air and then it ends. It's basically, in that case with the shield, it's actually very similar to Rivali's Gale in Breath of the Wild, where it launches you into the air and then you can glide.
Got it. Lexi asks, does Link still have a Sheikah Slate? How do you change hand abilities? What does the map function in the hand ability... what does the map function in the hand abilities wheel do?
So the hand abilities I mentioned, that's when you hold down like the button for it, and then you get the radial menu. So that's how you can actually change those, which is very nice, I think. As for the map function in it, I didn't get to test it. I remember seeing it. I don't remember what the map function does. It might just pull up the map, which I guess would be another way to do that. As for the Sheikah Slate, I don't know. I know when you pull up the map, it kind of looks like the Sheikah Slate screen. So I imagine it has to be something like that because he's not staring into his hand. He's not. So he has something related to it to get that map screen, I would imagine.
Okay. Animal Crossing Dude asks, kind of random, but could you see Hyrule Castle from where you were in the game?
I could, because I was actually not that far from it. Most of where I was in the main Hyrule Field area, kind of north of the Great Plateau and south of Hyrule Castle, and then the skies above that area. So yeah, if I looked in the right direction, I could see Hyrule Castle.
Okay, great. Alex asks, which abilities are more fun to play with, the Sheikah Slate runes or the new ones in Tears of the Kingdom?
Ooh, I think the new ones. I think the new ones in Tears of the Kingdom. Maybe this is just because it's new, it's exciting, it's coming out. But when I look back at Breath of the Wild, and the Sheikah runes, I look at them and I'm like, I mean, Magnesis is situational, although you can make fun things out of it. Stasis is kind of cool for the speed running things that people used it for, to just launch all over the place. I can't think of a good time to use Cryonis except for the very situational puzzles. So I feel like the new stuff just has so many more options that make it feel limitless what you could do with them.
Okay. Looks like we have another YouTuber here. Drew Mello asks, from the footage of the preview, it is clear that the divine beasts are not where we left them in Breath of the Wild. Do you have any idea what happened to them?
I have no idea of any kind of story details, but I know that everyone's been pointing out the divine beasts are gone, the original Sheikah towers are gone, the shrines in Breath of the Wild are gone. All the original Breath of the Wild Sheikah tech is just for some reason gone.
Very strange. Javier asks with a super chat, thank you. Aside from the awesome meat arrows, heck yeah, were you able to create any special arrows that we haven't seen yet with the fuse ability?
I don't think. I mean, I made the bomb flower arrows. I don't think I made anything completely wild with it. I know in the B-roll Nintendo sent us, they had an item called a muddle bud, which is a type of flower, and they fused that to an arrow and launched it at the group of bokoblins, and it created this sort of pinkish cloud that then made the enemies all start attacking each other. So it muddled them. I guess it frenzied or confused them where they started attacking pretty much everything nearby, made the big one take out all the small ones, which was very helpful looking.
I imagine.
But I don't know where those would be found, though.
The Curious Moth with a super chat, thank you, asks, 2 questions. Did you get to play with the settings? And it just went off screen. And can you still eat meals in the middle of combat? And are they as OP as before?
So I didn't get a chance to mess around with any settings. They didn't want me to go into the settings menu. But you can still eat meals during combat, and I guess therefore, yes, depending on what you made, they can still be as broken as before, because you could just open the menu and eat whenever. So
all right. Still Alive asks with a super chat, thank you. Can you answer or did you answer anything about any dungeons yet? Are there dungeons? What are they like?
Yeah, so like we said at the very beginning, we have no idea if there's anything related to classic Zelda dungeons or dungeons in general. Nothing that we got to experience, anything like one, so I don't have an answer for that, unfortunately. We know that's a very common one that everyone wants to know, but unfortunately, it's one that we don't have an answer to.
Speaking of which, Mama asks a very specific question. What happens when you're under a sky island with water and use Ascend? So I think what they're asking is, if you're appearing at the bottom of, say, a lake, what happens then? Do we know?
I don't think none of the islands I got to experience let me ascend up through the water. Though I imagine, and this is my speculation, I imagine what would happen is you would come through at the bottom of the water and then you would just rise up.
That's what I'm thinking.
Anytime, basically the same thing as diving into the water, even if it looks shallow. Link goes essentially as far down as he does for his animation before rising back up to the top. Mm-hmm. So.
Cat Loafman asks, if you're allowed to tell us, how can you open the map?
Opening the map is the same button as it was in Breath of the Wild. I think the minus button.
I think that's
so.
Right.
Yeah. So it opens the same way as in Breath of the Wild.
I hate it when games swap what I think should be pause on map or on select, and I don't know, it's just a me thing. I was playing some game recently and that annoyed me with that. I don't think Zelda has that issue though. Still alive with a super chat. Thank you. Asks, did you explore any caves? Any big extensive caves?
Didn't get to find any caves. Actually, no. We found the one cave that Aonuma went to in his gameplay demonstration that he demonstrated Ascend with. And the only thing we were allowed to do there when we stepped foot in that cave is test Ascend. So technically, yes, we found a cave, but we couldn't do anything more than Aonuma showed in his gameplay.
Philippe asks, can you store a Zonai device back in the inventory after you open the capsule or find one in the open?
I think if you've opened it from the capsule, like from your inventory, I think you can take it and put it back. I don't know if you could do that with ones out in the open. I think the ones out in the open, you just like actually pick them up.
Interesting. Marty Man asks with the super chat. Thank you, Marty Man. What is the limit of how high you can go up? Like, say, can you make a helicopter craft while on a floating island? Can you reach the moon? So I don't think we know the limits of it, right?
No idea of the limits, though. I hope it's not literally the sky's the limit. I hope you can go even higher.
Could you
but I have
imagine
no idea.
if you actually could reach the moon? Like, they could pull like a Beyond Good and Evil at the end. You're like, yeah, time to go to the moon. Let's do it. So,
oh man,
to reference a game that no one's played here. Oh god, I know it's not a car, but I'm gonna pronounce it a car, but I forget the real pronunciation. A car 1994, the super chat, thank you, asks, Link had 17 hearts in one line on a commercial fighting a Gleeok. This is up from 15 in Breath of the Wild. Has Link gotten a heart capacity upgrade?
Unfortunately, I don't know if there's a capacity upgrade in this case. Again, we only got to experience like 2 hours from a random point Nintendo threw us into, where I think we had about 10 hearts, and we didn't find any new ones, so.
Okay. So Nintendo, yeah, very particular about the amount of hearts we had, I guess, so we couldn't verify that. Still alive with a super chat again, thank you. Glad to hear you're still alive indeed. Okay, this is my last one, LOL. Did you find any new Zelda enemies we haven't seen yet? Are any of them old school enemies like P-Hats or Tektites?
I was really looking, not gonna lie. I was really trying to find like more enemies, but the only enemies I got to encounter were the Bokoblins in that camp, the Moblin that was there, the big boss Bokoblin, which, in fairness, we only saw like a couple times in trailers, didn't get to actually like fight it before. So it was neat to fight that. It was strong. And then the soldier constructs up on the Sky Islands. So
yeah, how were they, by the way?
Surprisingly not as strong as I thought they would be, because the ones that I encountered went down in one hit with an arrow to the weak point. So they were weaker ones.
Speaking of weak things, Giancarlo asks, is there any visual indicator that your weapon/shield is about to break, or is it the same as Breath of the Wild?
I mean, it does. I think in Breath of the Wild, you got the indicator. Oh, the durability of this item is low. It's like a little like UI indicator, and then in the menu it would be flashing red. I'm pretty sure it's the same thing here.
Okay. Another super chat from Hando Han Solo, who asks, I noticed using bow bullet time only uses a chunk of stamina rather than rapidly depleting it. Is it per shot? If not, that would be too OP.
I think it would be per shot, because I think after the shot it stops the bullet time, but unfortunately I don't know for certain there.
Speaking of which, William asks, did you see what the tears do?
No, no idea.
Yeah, like this wasn't too illuminating in terms of story at all, right? Like we
did not get to experience anything related to story here.
Jonathan asks, this may seem like a weird question, but how did you play the demo? Handheld mode or on the TV? With Joy-Cons or a Pro Controller?
It was played on the new Zelda OLED, actually. It docked. So docked on the new Zelda OLED with a plugged-in Pro Controller.
Okay. Troll Magic asks, can you recall on your own objects that you use or throw? So can you throw a rock and knock yourself out with it?
You could use recall on any object that is moved. I remember, Andre, you asked me to try firing an arrow and recalling it afterwards. That is not something you could do fast enough. No.
Okay, I was wondering. But wait,
I mean, I guess
when it lands,
if you find the arrow when it lands, you probably could. I couldn't find when the arrow went, so I didn't get to do that.
So just to be clear, did you test an object doesn't need to be in motion for you to recall it?
it needs to have had motion at some point to use recall. That's why like what Aonuma's gameplay had, where there was like the rubble that fell from a sky island. After it landed, you can use recall and it goes back up. I used recall on like enemy projectiles being thrown. There was a puzzle I solved with an aqueduct where there was it was like a pool of water and there was a treasure chest in the middle. And in order to get that treasure chest, you had to open like this floodgate so all the water would leave. But if you use Ultra Hand to lift up the floodgate, when you let go of it, it goes back down and the water refills. So what I did was I then used Recall to... It remembered I lifted it with Ultra Hand. Recall left it up in the air. The water drained. And with Recall going, I went and opened the chest.
Nice. So. Awesome. Drew Mello asks, as far as you could tell, did Ultra Hand have a limit to how many things you could glue together? For example, could you glue tons of trees together to make a huge raft?
I didn't get to encounter any sort of limit. I think the most... I think I said earlier, I think the most amount of things I put together was like 5 or 6. But that wasn't because of a limit the game gave me. It was because I didn't want to spend too long on just one thing in my limited time that I had with the game. So, unfortunately, I don't know if there's a limit that the game actually has in place there.
I want to cut down an entire forest and make the Titanic. I need to know if this is possible. Just...
Wow.
Kinkle asks, I know you all probably only got to explore the world, but do you know if we'll have abilities like Urbosa's Fury and Mipha's Grace?
So specifically those with the Breath of the Wild abilities were nowhere to be seen. So seemingly, yes, Link is reset from Breath of the Wild. He does not carry over his abilities from that. I don't know if we'll have new abilities like those. We didn't get to experience anything about that, obviously.
Okay. Let's see. Justin asks, how customizable is clothing? Is it still the same or better with more options? Same with hair.
The armor customization is basically the same as it was in Breath of the Wild. More of them, but it's still the same thing of what's the headgear, what's like the torso, and what's the pants.
Okay.
Or the legs.
Paul Gale asks, how would you compare the raw visuals to Breath of the Wild? For instance, from your playtime, did you notice the resolution being more crisp, the polygon count being higher, there being greater lighting or shadows, etc. Thank you.
I think in general, while the game is like very close to Breath of the Wild, I do think it looks better. I do think it looks a bit better. I don't know if I would say like significantly better. This isn't a case of every time I look at this game, wow, this must be running on a Switch Pro. It's not one of those. But I do think it looks nice. Yeah,
I think it helps too that we're seeing it from a different perspective. Like, you're much higher in this game potentially than you were everywhere in Breath of the Wild. So it's kind of cool to get these different angles. I imagine the vistas, if you will.
Yeah.
And Emoji asks, do the physics feel different or improved in any way?
I think the physics feel largely the same, though I think with the new options you have, it feels like you get to experience more with the physics than you did before.
Brian asks, can you fuse a Cuckoo to your shield?
Unfortunately, I did not get to find any cuckoos, so I have no idea if you can fuse them. I don't think you can, because I don't think you can really fuse any like living creatures.
That's too bad. I want to. I want like a cow shield. Can you imagine just running around with this massive cow shield? Cole Betcha asks, what do you think the most versatile of Link's abilities are?
Ooh, that's a great question. It has to be between Fusion or Ultra Hand, and I think it's gonna be Ultra Hand because of the things that you could create. Because Fusion, realistically, just enhances it adds another aspect to a weapon, whereas with Ultra Hand, I mean, we saw in the last trailer, Link created this like giant fighting robot thing. So I think Ultra Hand might end up being the most limitless and like the most taking advantage of your imagination.
Right, that makes sense. All right, there's a chat here that I was just cracking up about. Joey Albert says, "Can I fuse myself to Ganon's abs?" Did you try it, Triss? Did you fuse yourself to Ganon's abs?
Didn't even get to find Ganon, but you know what? When you get the game, if you're able to do that, let us know.
Yeah. No kidding. Mama asks, how does the vehicle physics compare to Bad Piggies in terms of control and satisfaction? What's Bad Piggies?
I am not sure.
I have no idea.
I'm not sure what Bad Piggies are, but I will say the vehicle physics, the one that I specifically like controlled and like flew around. When I added like a controller to the like the bird thing, I was actually surprised at how smooth that felt. I didn't really fight it at all. Um, I was surprised at how responsive it was, and it felt very nice to fly around. It was hard to land at the destination I wanted because I kept expecting needing to fight it, but
Let's see. Edsart asks, can you recall your own vehicles?
yes, yeah. Like I mentioned earlier, the flying bird thing. I flew it to an island, got off of it, it got stuck in a tree, and then I wanted to use it again when I picked up the object I needed. So I used recall to get it back to over the island instead of stuck in a tree, so it fell. Used Ultra Hand to unflip it, put it where I needed it to, stood on it, used recall to put it back up in the air,
Oh my God.
and then I was able to work from there.
That's
So
amazing. Yeah,
yes,
great.
that's really cool actually.
Shala X Ninja, the super chat, thank you, says, bad piggies might mean bokoblins.
Oh, the bokoblin. Well, I don't know about how that would have to do with like physics and controlling them.
Yeah,
but,
I'm not quite sure either.
I'm not sure on that.
Still Alive is back, asking, could you see the edge of the map like it could in Breath of the Wild?
I did not. We were like smack in the middle of Hyrule Field.
Yeah.
So
and even if we did, I don't know, like if that would, like it'd be hard to discern if that was the actual edge of the map or not. So yeah, we have no idea. Yeah asks, is Flurry Rush back, or can I finally dodge without being forced into slow-mo for 10 seconds?
I'm pretty sure Flurry Rush is back. I did not get to experience it myself, but I'm pretty sure it is back.
All right. Let's see.
Someone in chat says, Bad Piggies is an Angry Birds game where you build cars. I had no idea.
Yeah, we didn't play it, so no clue. Well, that's all of our, so we just burned through all of our, like, pre-established questions from Twitter and YouTube, and along, we've been going through a ton of chat questions. So we're probably winding down your chat, but if you have any other questions, let us know, and, we'll, again, do our best to answer them. But I think we're probably approaching, like, the limit of how much we can actually answer at this point.
Yeah, at this point, I'm surprised. We've been going over an hour here with a ton of questions. It's been good.
Yeah, it has been. It's been fun. I've been learning a lot of stuff too. Quick Tips asks, how many little sorry, just went off screen. How many little floating islands did you see? Do you think they are the replacement for shrines?
So we answered this a bit earlier, where I don't think I don't know how many there are. I didn't count how many I saw, but
was that a lot?
There's a lot, but I don't think they're the replacement for shrines because they very much feel more like they feel more like they're to challenge your overworld navigation to make it more interesting rather than a replacement for shrines.
Okay. Carlos asks in the super chat, or says, thank you, Carlos, Bad Piggies is an Angry Birds spin-off game where you play as the pigs and build physics-based vehicles like in Tears of the Kingdom. I have not heard of this. I might need to check it out, especially as a big fan of Nuts and Bolts. Is it a 2D game or is it a 3D game? I'm guessing 3D. That's interesting. So, and Ant-Right asks, Triss, can you fuse a rocket to a bokoblin? LOL.
I don't think so you can't use Ultra Hand or Fusion on like living creatures, unfortunately. So you can't like put a rocket on a bokoblin and like send it off. I wonder if you can fuse it to their weapons, but I doubt it because it only gives you the fusion option for your own weapons. So you probably can't really directly interact with an enemy using those things.
Renzo has a good question. Does music play a bigger role this time?
The music, from what I heard, sounded pretty similar to the kind of music we had in Breath of the Wild.
But
I didn't get to hear.
Or
couldn't tell. I mean, the music in the Sky Island wasn't something from Breath of the Wild, for example. It was another ambient, but it was a newer, different ambient. So. Okay. Oh, well, the battle music was different. The battle music has the same like melody that the Breath of the Wild one has, but it was a newer song. There was a bit more going on in it, and I did like it. All
right. Tom Arnold. Tom, we already answered this. Tom Arnold, our own Tom, is asking, can you fuse a Kuko to an arrow? I guess we need to specifically address an arrow. We answered the shield, right?
Oh, gosh. Yeah, we answered the shield. I don't think you can store a Cuckoo in your inventory, so probably not. Although that does make me realize, I'm pretty sure you could collect, like, eggs as materials in Breath of the Wild. So if you could still do that, what happens if you fuse an egg to an arrow?
That's a good question. Can you, like, hatch a chicken, a Cuckoo, like, by firing at something? I don't know.
Wow, that's violent.
Yeah, no kidding. Shola X Ninja with another super chat, thank you, says or asks, Sheikah Towers are back, but can they be activated and register the location? Also, are Guardians back? Okay, yeah, go ahead.
So for Sheikah Towers, they're asking if they can be activated to share like the map data of the area.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I have no idea. We the only thing we're allowed to say about the towers is that we got to see one up close, but in terms of like activating or anything with it, like from having looked at my map data when I started playing that demo, that the tower was already there on the map. So I don't know what happens when you first approach a tower, but this was not the first time we approached it. But
okay.
That's now that's actually the most we could say of the towers.
Also, are Guardians back?
Did not get to encounter any Guardians. I imagine they're not. If they are, they're not like the Ganon enemies, but they might be. I mean, maybe the Sheikah are working on them again, and they're like. I would be shocked if there aren't Guardians in some form.
I mean,
they were so iconic.
We've seen like the tentacles before, like
yeah.
they're tentacle-like things before, even though it wasn't attached to a Guardian. David says, I saw someone mention in a video that the Sky Islands felt like the islands in Wind Waker. I don't know. Anyways, do you think that's an accurate comparison? Do they feel like the islands in Wind Waker?
I think there's a few too many for it to be that. Like in Wind Waker, every island had a purpose to it, whether there was a like established civilization there, or there were like puzzles and something going on there. Whereas you'll find some Sky Islands where they're really small. It's like a hill in Breath of the Wild where, oh look, there's a fairy here. There's like some like little wildlife to look at. There's a couple materials, and that's the extent of an island. Sometimes that's all there is. Sometimes there's like a whole puzzle to solve. So I don't know if I would directly compare it to Wind Waker. Although I guess it's not a bad comparison because it's islands. So
yeah, that's true. They're literally islands just in the sky.
Yep.
So I'm still annoyed they're not officially called Skylands. It seems like such an obvious thing to call them. Demigod asks, was anything answered about Epona earlier? Only that I don't think we saw any horses at all.
Yep.
Epona or not.
Yep.
So
yeah, didn't get to do anything with horses, so no idea.
I've seen a few other people asking if you can shield surf if the items fused to your shield or fused to your shield. We didn't test that either. Just didn't occur to us. So
yeah.
Huber asks, can you only unfuse weapons via the big inventory, not on the fly?
When Nintendo explained to me how to do it, how to unfuse it, they specifically brought it up, had me bring it up in the full menu. I don't know if you can unfuse them in like the smaller like shortcut menu, but it might be something you can only do from like the main inventory menu.
Here's one from RT6Y6. Are there any criticisms you have with the game so far?
Ooh, a bit hard to, really come up with many, given the short amount of time that we really did get to experience with it. But I think,
any concerns maybe?
Like any concerns. I think, I still feel like when using Ultra Hand, the rotate function could be a little bit better. I have seen a bunch of people telling me in the comments there actually is a reset button to reset the rotation on it, so that's good. That was one of my main complaints in the moment because I did not notice that. But I do still think it will feel a little annoying if you like grab something at the wrong angle and you want to like try to rotate it, but you're off, center, so it's not gonna rotate the way you want it to. So it might be annoying to grab it, go nope. Go step aside to another part, grab it. Nope, not quite. Right. That might be, but I don't think that's gonna matter that much.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things we can't say for sure until we play dozens and dozens of hours of this game. But
exactly,
so we'll see. Rebecca H says, "Hello, I've noticed in the gameplay that fans controlling sticks, hot air balloons, etc., don't explode and disappear like the rockets. Does that mean you can recollect them and reuse them?"
I don't know if you can like recollect them, like put them back into your inventory, but if you like bring them around, yeah, you could still use them.
Awesome.
Multiple times.
BPT Boy with a super chat, thank you, says, did you get to dive to the surface and descend back?
We did not get to we did not get to dive down to the surface after being in the Sky Island, unfortunately. we did get to experience a way up into the sky. That is also something we're not allowed to talk about, other than we found another way to get up into the sky. Woohoo! I think I think I can I can say this though of what they had us do when we got to a Skyland at one point was they had us put down the travel medallion, and if we fell off at all, we had to use that to warp back. They didn't want us finding any other ways to get up.
Did you fall off?
I did not. So
okay. Crescent Sun asks, is there a way to fuse items to your weapons and shields from the inventory, or do you have to drop on the ground first to fuse?
You have to drop them on the ground first to fuse them.
Okay. The Destroyer really wants to know, do Lionels have health bars? I mean, we didn't encounter any, so we have
I did not get to encounter a Lionel, so I have no idea.
I mean,
I also see Scott Young in chat asking, what do meat arrows do? We have a whole
video.
We have several videos about that.
Yeah, we have a whole videos. Yes, it's in the title of our 20 facts video. There's a short about it, which, by the way, everyone, if you don't already follow us on TikTok, go do it now. Go type in GameXplain, follow us on TikTok. They post all kinds of shorts there as well. And it's also on YouTube too, as well. But TikTok does get a few exclusives here and there that we don't post on YouTube because it might be redundant. But in any case, yeah, the question is answered there. Gaspard asks, was the game pretty?
Yeah, I would say so. The game, like, visually still looks very nice. And especially, like, when you're, like, higher up and you get to look out across Hyrule, I really like the views. I can't wait to see more.
Did you, were you playing, like, midday, or were you seeing, like, any sunsets or anything?
It was, like, middle of the day, yeah. Okay. There wasn't, like, any, like, nice movements with the sun or anything, from what I got to see.
Got it. Let's see. We're seeing a lot of questions we've answered before now, like frame rate stuff. We've talked about that already. No idea about Amiibo, Demigod, or no idea about Opponent, rather. Demigod, not sure. Quill says, does Link still have blue boxers when he's unclothed? Is this something you were able to see?
I didn't even think to try taking off all the equipment. I was more interested in checking out what equipment was there.
Yeah, I don't know if Nintendo would approve. We were just running around as naked Link the entire time in our gameplay session. Ahmed asks, does Link have his champion tunic from the beginning? I don't think we know, right?
We don't. Yeah, we didn't get to play from the very beginning. It was available to us because Nintendo put us in a random part of the game.
Yugo Boy asks, what does the map icon in the ability wheel do? Just open the map? I think did we talk about this?
I think it just opens the map. I didn't test that, unfortunately, so I don't know what it does. I know pressing minus also opens the map, so it might be another way to open the map or something else. I did not get to test it, though.
All right. You're welcome, Demigod. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Mike asks, can you use Ascend while falling or in the air? Also, can Ascend be used without actively looking at the spot you're ascending to? Like, can you be running and use Ascend when a button pops up?
I think you can, yeah, you can use it without looking. The criteria still needs to be met of, there needs to be something above you that it's a green circle, not a red one, and not missing.
Okay.
So I don't know if you can use it while falling or in the air. I guess if the thing is above you and it's not too far away, you might be able to.
All right. J2 Blue Engage asks, can you only shoot arrows while diving in the sky, or can you do it while free falling? Do we know?
Yeah, you can do it while free falling too. I think I actually have that in footage where just from gliding, just like in Breath of the Wild, you get the slow-mo when pulling out the arrow. But when doing it when diving, you have a lot more versatility to the direction you can face.
The Destroyer asks, is the boss Boko hard? Sorry that I'm asking another. It's all good, Destroyer.
I think for never fighting it before because of Breath of the Wild, for first time fighting it, it was more challenging than I was expecting it to be.
Rebecca asks, what's something that you really wish you tested or thought of to try but didn't think of till you left?
Oh, man. I mean, everything kind of comes to mind. It's like, dang, I should have tried fusing every material in the menu to see what would happen. I should have tried cooking. I should have like tested an obscure recipe from Breath of the Wild. Is it still here or something like that? But it's, you know, there's only so much time that you get there that it gets overwhelming really quickly.
It does. Yeah, I think I don't know. People like can fully understand just like how. For me, at least, like these preview events can be like a little anxiety-inducing because like you've got so much to focus on. You're trying to come to grips with a new game. You're listening to the person guiding you through it. There's a lot to keep in mind. Making sure your recording is actually working, so you don't have that being corrupted or whatever. So yeah, it's impossible, unfortunately, to test everything that we would like at all times. But Cool Mind Squad asks, is the loading screen the same? Actually, Mario Luigi Bros asked that too, back to back, which is funny. So Actually, wait, what the heck? We had 3 questions about this just back to back. Raiponda also asked, what's the loading screen like? What? How did these 3 all load in at the same time? I don't get it.
That's actually really funny. I don't know, unfortunately. I didn't get a chance to see what the loading screen looked like.
Okay. Talkaballs asks, can you fuse things to the Broken Master Sword?
We didn't have the Broken Master Sword with us, actually. Yeah, we didn't have it with us.
That's actually kind of telling in and of itself, potentially, that we didn't have it at this point. Though we really don't. Do we have any idea of like where in the game we were? Like
no.
Okay.
No idea what point in the game we were at. Yeah.
D with a super chat, thank you D, asks, can you attach non-Zonai weapons to vehicles?
I imagine you can. I didn't get to try it, but I imagine you can. You can attach more than just Zonai things in general. So I would be shocked if you can't also do the same with weapons.
All right. BTB boy asks, I think they meant Triss here. Ask Tria, I think they meant Triss, why they skydive to their death.
so in that, I thought I was over the water, and I also kept looking away because I had the Nintendo reps talking to me about what was going on there. So I kept like looking, like like while doing it. So right. I didn't realize I wasn't over the water.
That's hilarious. I think it ended up making for a better video, though. It's so funny.
It did. No, it did. I'm actually happy that played out the way it did, because it was great.
We should like the hero time, everyone. The guy just falling to the ground, breaking his neck instantly. Let's see. Yeah, I think we're really getting to the point where we're just getting a lot of questions we've already answered before. So I think we're probably about at the end. So our roll, we can't even estimate how many Sky Islands there are.
Yeah.
You can probably tell better than we can by looking at the footage at this point. So, yeah, no, I think that's pretty much it. So, yeah, I think we've pretty much answered everything being asked at the moment, at least, and as probably as much as we could even answer based on our playtime, at least in a very specific sense. But everyone, thank you so much for watching. We appreciate being here. We hope you've enjoyed all of our preview coverage so far. We'll probably have a few more things coming up as well on top of the questions and answers, but I hope we were able to answer some things for you. Real quick, Molten sneaking in here. Is this a joke, Milton? With a super chat, what is the loading screen like? We don't.
Unfortunately, no idea.
No idea. Box, I don't think Navi. We didn't see any signs of Navi if she's back, right? No signs or anything.
The closest I saw is like the little fairies that you can collect, like in any Zelda game, are also you can also find them around.
Ocarina Pen now asking me specifically, what's the loading screen like, Andre? I don't know. I wasn't there myself. I have no idea. Jalen Hertz Cannon sneaking in another final super chat. Their first one, thank you, Jalen, who asks, how do the flying machine's controls feel? Thanks.
Actually felt pretty good, I gotta say. I expected to have to fight with it more than I did.
All right, good. So did it feel like you had to fight it more or not?
No, I thought I would have to.
Okay.
I did not.
Was there like a momentum to it? Like, did you feel like, like it was a little slow to respond as you might expect, or?
Yeah, like it felt natural. Like it like tilting back to move up or forward to go down. Like it felt very natural. It wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna tilt forward and it just immediately nosedives. It wasn't anything like that. So it felt very natural with its gliding movements.
The chat is just turning into a complete loading screen disaster now. My God. Warrant Zero asks, can Ultra Hand, and this is the last one probably, can Ultra Hand be controlled with gyro?
I don't know. I want to say no. I don't think so.
Yeah, if you can, you didn't notice it, right? Or or it's possible if it's an option it wasn't enabled, which we don't know. So. Antonio, I'm going to end you guys. I'm going to end all of you by ending the stream right now. All right, everyone. Once again, thank you for watching. We hope you've enjoyed all the videos, the questions so far. We'll have more coming up soon. Of course, we'll have a weekend video for our weekly countdown series. We're down to, what, 2 weeks now, Triss? We're in the penultimate one coming up this Saturday. Crazy. I can't, that's wild, but should be a lot of fun. And of course, we'll have more in this game with it coming out soon enough. So, I can't wait. Triss, any parting thoughts, any final thoughts for our audience before we wrap it up here?
I am so glad I've gotten to actually talk about getting to play this with you guys. It's been a blast seeing all the comments, all the reception to the videos since yesterday. It's been great. I'm happy we're at the point where people are getting to play the game. We're getting so close.
I love that for as much as I feel I now know, it still really feels like I know nothing. Like, it feels like we really, like, it seems like a game you really need to go hands-on with yourself to fully appreciate what it actually is and what it's doing. All
No,
right.
exactly, and that's great. Like you can get told repeatedly, this game has so many like limitless options and imagination. And you're like, yeah, okay, but you don't realize it. Like you don't internalize it until you actually get to play it.
Yeah, I can't wait to do it myself. So hopefully, not too long. I mean, definitely not too long. It's only 2 weeks away, or about 2 weeks away. So,
Yep.
thank you for the kind words, everyone, including Shandy and Vanilla Soup. But we're gonna wrap it up here. Everyone, have a good one. We'll catch you later. Bye.